Okay, so thank you very much for coming out tonight to our first passion session. Our speaker tonight is Penny Bardfeld, registered dietitian and a group fitness instructor and proud Bethel member. Penny currently teaches group fitness classes in several area gyms and provides nutrition consultations for gym clients. And her program tonight is going to be a much needed portion distortion. Penny, all yours.
Okay. All right. Well, hi, everybody. I think so for now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to let's see, here we go. Yeah. So and thank you, Helene, for the introduction. And just, I guess, a little more about my background and my fitness and nutrition journey. I did go to college to study nutrition and dietetics and became a registered dietitian. And I worked for a few years in a clinical setting, mainly in pediatrics. And then I left and worked for a big company for over 20 years, selling medical nutrition products. But along the way, I started doing on the side some fitness classes, always been a runner, and just to really lucky for me that my two passions, because we're talking about this presenting our passions, and my two passions have always been nutrition and fitness, and I'm lucky because I put them together and been able to make both of my professions. But then about 6 years ago, around the time we moved here, I left the job in the corporate setting and decided to go back to my roots, and have been just focusing on teaching the fitness classes and providing nutrition consultations to the gym clients. So just wanted to mention that's kind of what brought me here. And, you know, when you say nutrition, I mean, nutrition really is the process by which we provide the nourishment that our body needs for normal and for growth and for normal function. But there's a lot of reasons why somebody might want to consult with a dietitian. Bless you. And people come to see a dietitian for a lot of reasons, a lot of different diseases and conditions that might require special nutrition consideration. But probably because of what I do, working in the gym setting, the majority of my clients come to see me for weight loss, weight maintenance, weight loss. I have some who will consult with me once in a while about, they may have a gastrointestinal concern. Maybe want to talk about their diabetes. But for the most part, people come see me because they need help with their weight loss. And some people have lost weight successfully and they need help with maintenance. So for that reason, when Rabbi asked me to do a nutrition talk, I thought, 30 minutes, I'm going to have to come up with one topic. And I thought, let's start with the weight loss and weight maintenance, and which translates just into good nutrition, since I think that's a very common topic that most people can relate to. And so part of my nutrition program, I have a segment that I call Portion Distortion. And that's what we're going to be talking about tonight. And what that is really is specifically addressing what's happened over the last 30 to 40 years, primarily in our country, with what's happened with portion sizes and how that directly correlates to rates of obesity. But the good news is I have a whole list of tricks and tips that I'm going to share that can help us, as we move forward, if you're trying to work on your own portion sizes, maintenance, weight loss, etc. So this is going to be an interactive discussion. And so it seems like during my introduction, we got ourselves on more of a full house. So that's a good thing. So I'm going to go ahead and I am going to unmute. You already unmuted everybody for me? Looks like, there we go. Okay, well, you can just unmute yourself. I'm going to ask a question. So the first question is, well, what do you think is the meaning of portion distortion? The name of our topic. So if you want to shout it out, what do you think is the meaning of portion distortion? Any takers? Everybody's mute.
Eating too large a portion of food.
Eating too large of a portion. And portion and the distortion is, it refers to the growing portion sizes that people now consider to be normal. So for people trying to maintain a healthy body weight, and for those with diabetes and other medical conditions, it is important to control your portion sizes. And I consider this a trend since it's been happening very slowly but surely in the United States. And also obesity has been increasing at the same rate as our portion sizes have been. So it's no coincidence. So what I want to do is I'm going to pull up a slide presentation, and hopefully we can have a little bit of fun with this. And let's see, Barbara taught me how to share the screen. So what you should see is my slideshow, but you should be able to still hear me talking as we go through. So we got that. We're going to share it. And hang on 1 second. Double click the document. There it is. Share the screen. Click it. Share it. There we go. Okay. You guys see my calories in, calories out?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So this is going to, I'm going to show you some pictures. And the first one is going to be what the portion size was for this particular food. And this was from around, let's say, 1985, because these, and then it's going to be compared to today's version. So if you can see this bagel, this may remind you of like at the food store, the ones you buy, like the Lenders, they come in a package. But if you go to a bagel store and you get a bagel today, or even some of the food stores, it looks more like this. So now's where we guess. If the first one has 140 calories, what does the second one have?
350.
500.
400.
400.
590.
Any 500s? No. Okay. So the answer is
500.
well. This one has 350. Now, of course, it depends what you put on it. So, this is just the bagel itself. I mean, if you talk about the schmear, usually what is put on there is probably way too much than what we need. But that's a calorie difference of 210 calories. And I know calories are not everything, but if you're a person who is trying to reduce your weight or try to maintain your weight, calories are really important because I think it said it on the first slide, or the title of the talk, it said calories in, calories out. That's what's going to determine whether you can lose the weight that you're trying to lose. So there's a big difference there. And this is just kind of a little fun, calories in, calories out. If you rake leaves for 50 minutes, you'll burn the extra 210 calories. So there's a lot of things you can do to burn the extra calories, but the point is that's just the bagel example. So this is a cheeseburger. I hope I don't make everyone hungry. And this always makes me hungry. But this probably is something you might have gotten at McDonald's or one of the, a food place. And I know this has got cheese on it, pardon me, but it's just to show you that the difference between the two. Anybody want to guess?
1,000.
I have 1,000.
1,200.
Okay. All right. Yeah, and disclaimer, this presentation is not kosher. 590 calories, so whoever guessed 600, it was pretty close. So this is what you could expect to get if you're going out. But this is my favorite. So this is the spaghetti with meatballs. And there's something about this too. It's not just the portion size, but it's the plate itself. Our plates have gotten very big. But this is like, let's say in the 1980s, if you had a cup of spaghetti with sauce and 3 small meatballs, that's about a 500 calorie meal. Who wants to take a guess at today's spaghetti and meatballs?
1,200.
800.
I have 800, I have 1,200,
960.
960,
900, I don't know.
1,000.
100. I got 1,000, anybody? Okay.
A whole day's worth of calories.
1,025. So the 1 cup of spaghetti has become 2 cups, and the 3 meatballs have become 3 large meatballs. But what I think is very interesting, again, is the plate size. We tend to fill our plate, and we ended up, well, I'll tell you later what we've done in our house, because we use small plates now. But if you go out to buy plates, and this is what you're getting. This is what, they don't make small plates anymore. And most restaurants are giving you very big plates. Comment on that? All right. French fries, anybody? I wish they had shown me the same exact comparison. But again, this looks like something you might get out. And who wants to guess on today's?
700.
400.
350.
We got 6, so 3 times more this one than the
Me?
original.
So at lunch today, I ordered in for my staff as a thank you from Nifty 50s. That's not a portion of French fries. A portion was about the size of a shoebox worth of French fries. And that was 1 portion because we ordered 4 of them and we had like 4 shoeboxes worth
Oh
of
my
French
God.
fries. Okay. Yeah.
Well, thanks for sharing, Linda. I'm sure your staff was really happy.
Oh, yeah, that with the milkshakes. Yeah.
A sandwich. So in the old days, we took 2 slices of bread and we put a couple slices of whatever lunch meat, lettuce, and tomato. But these days, this tends to be, if you order a sandwich out, this is more likely what you're going to get. Any takers?
800.
700.
900.
820. Close, Mom. 820. That's generally what you're going to get in a restaurant today. So, and here's one of those fun examples. If you ride your bike for 1 hour and 25 minutes, you'll burn approximately 500 calories, which is the difference between the sandwiches. So, I have some more. I'm going to take this away for now. Bring everybody back. Okay. So, I don't know. Did any comments or questions? I have more pictures, but I thought in between I would just take your comments. Were there any surprises in what you've seen so far? All right. Well, we're going to go to part 2. And let's see, double click the document. Share the screen. Click it, share it. All right. So it's going to be just a little more of the same. But there you go. I wanted to skip ahead. Do you guys see the muffin?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so this would have been a muffin if you went to a luncheonette or a bakery counter and you ordered a muffin. This is 20 years ago, but it's really more like about 35 years ago because the presentation's a little older. But this would have been your muffin with 210 calories. So who likes muffins? And how many calories do you think are in it?
500.
700. 700.
Okay, so I have 700.
500.
500. There we go. So calorie different, more than double. And we've got, of course, it's pepperoni pizza. I didn't make these up. So this would have been a pizza slice, from way back. But who wants to guess the calories in today's doubles, 2 slices of pizza?
1,500.
1,000.
1220.
I didn't think pizza was up there.
850. If you play golf while walking and carrying your clubs for 1 hour, you'll burn approximately 350 calories. That's a lot of work. And even they've, one of our favorites, the chicken Caesar salad, it's just getting bigger. You know, there's bigger, there's more on it. And if you add the dressing, you know, it might not be the best choice for if you're looking to reduce your weight and your caloric intake. So who wants to guess what today's chicken Caesar?
600.
1,200.
750.
800.
All right, where did you go? There it is. Almost 800.
Hmm.
Yep. I think I'll pull up one more and then, oh my goodness, now I'm getting hungry. Yeah, all right. The chicken stir fry, you know, might have been in this type of a bowl. This is a standard portion, maybe a takeout container. Any guessers?
900.
Ooh, almost. Almost. So that was a little fun. I just like to do that because I think that the picture says 1,000 words. And the point is that, you know, this has started probably restaurants, dining out, where the portions are just 2-3 times larger what they used to be. So, and I thought the visual was a good way to kind of bring that to everybody's attention. But, you know, what to do about it. So I have a bunch of strategies, and a lot of these are things that I go over with my clients. And, you know, again, most of the time they're looking to lose weight or just improve their nutrition. So my favorite is number one, the one we talked about a little bit before, and that is to use smaller plates. And part of it is psychological, but it's definitely going to, you know, it's nicer to eat, you know, a full plate of food. And in my house, we've gone to the salad plates. So we really don't even use those big dinner plates anymore. We just use the salad plates, and we've gotten rid of the dinner plates. And I got a little bit of pushback. I had some pushback, but they're used to it now. And that's my tip number one. Tip number two, and this is not just portion control. These are all just some really good tips for people looking to lose weight. And together, if you put them all together, you know, you may be able to see some results. These are really simple strategies. But eat more slowly and give the food a chance to land, so we say. Do you know that it takes up to 20 minutes when you're eating your meal, your food? It takes up to 20 minutes for the brain to receive the signal that it's full. So if you eat really fast, and, you know, if you eat your meal in 10 minutes, you may not even know that you're full. So you try to eat more slowly, so the stomach has a chance to signal to the brain that it's full. Does that make sense? Yeah. And one thing you might want to do is put your fork down or your spoon down between each bite, and that's going to help, you know, make your meal more leisurely and not, you know, take as much, not so fast, you know, and to slow down. So you don't want to wait until you're full to stop eating. You should have a slight sensation of mild fullness, and you should not feel stuffed. Because once you do feel stuffed, you know, chances are you may have eaten more than you really needed to. One thing you can do is also, like dining at home, make a platter and leave the food in the meal prep area. So instead of the family serving where we bring all the dishes to the table and, you know, you're eating, you're refilling your plate, you may have lost track of how much that you've had to eat, especially if you're with others and you're talking. And so one thing you can do is, you know, everyone make their plates almost like a buffet style in your own kitchen, and then put the food away and rather than on the table. And in fact, you can even wrap up the food and put it back in the refrigerator and then sit down to enjoy the food that's on your plate. Don't go into your meals starving. You really, it's better to actually take off the edge. So like sometimes when like I'm leaving the gym and I'm really hungry and it's going to be about an hour before I get to eat my food. So I do take a snack, something, and then I have more control. When I go to eat the food, then I can have a reasonable sized portion. So it's better to really never allow yourself to be starving hungry, or people who skip breakfast, or maybe I'm going to skip breakfast, I'm going to eat lunch, skip lunch, and then they eat all their food later in the day, end up eating more that way. So try to space out your meals, not go into your meals starving, eat breakfast, small frequent feedings throughout the day. And what are some examples of what you could eat in between meals? Maybe a handful of nuts. Nuts are very filling and they have fiber, and you don't want to eat, a lot, but, single serving packages, if you get them in advance, or just, a handful, something to just take off the edge, a piece of fruit, or even a cup of coffee, and make sure you're drinking enough water. Drink a lot of water. That's going to help you feel more full and take off the edge. So I'm about halfway through my tips. Does anyone else have a comment or a question before I finish up the rest of my tips? Are these things that you're already doing?
Yeah, sort of.
I want to do it, but I don't do it.
That you know you should be doing. Okay. Well,
Not
here's,
enough.
as I mentioned when I said to prepare your food before you sit down to eat, it's really a good strategy if you have cooked and prepared, especially now. I mean, we're all home, and we're cooking a lot, and we're preparing a lot of food, to actually make those platters, wrap up your food, put it in the container, and put it in the fridge before you even sit down to eat. That way you have one, what you feel to be is an appropriate portion size, and you're not going to keep going back for more. So at a restaurant, does anybody remember restaurants? Restaurants where we used to go, if they put out like bread or chips, we don't do this at home. So that's a good thing. I mean, I don't know. At the restaurants, though, there's always some kind of bread and there's always chips or something on the table. Just measure out what you like, whether you really want the bread. If it's good, I eat it. Like if it's really good, hot bread right out of the oven, that's a special treat. But break off the one slice and then just return the rest. Tell them to take the rest away. Just take it off the table. Don't get refills. If it's not so good, just skip it all together. Tell them you don't want it. Mexican restaurants, when they bring out the chips, my family, I drive them crazy, but we count down our chips, put them on the plate, and then we return the rest of the basket and chips. And we don't want to have any more because we've got dinner coming. Here's a good strategy that everybody knows, but don't food shop when you're hungry. It clouds good decision making. So if you go into the food store hungry, these days you're less likely to actually stick something in your mouth, but you're not thinking as clearly, and you're going to end up with some things that you might not have done if you weren't so hungry. So have an apple before you go to the food store. Have a water. Drink your water. We'll talk a little bit about water at the very end, but have your water bottle, drink your water, eat your fruit, some veggies, have something, or go after lunch or after breakfast so you can make really good decisions in the food store. And again, this talk is always designed for normal times when we go to restaurants, but I always tell my clients to avoid buffets. Just avoid them completely if you can. Because you really lose all sense of what is a portion size and too much temptation. But if you are going to a buffet, and sometimes you can't avoid it, just determine in advance what you're going to eat. I know I'm going to a buffet. I know what they're going to have. In fact, if you're going to a restaurant, even not a buffet, it's good to look at the menu in advance and determine what you're going to eat before you get there so that you can make that good choice when you're thinking, clearly. But if you're going to go to a buffet, make your plate full of fruits and vegetables and colorful foods, and then use your second plate if you go back, then take small amounts of your other 2 to 3 favorite foods. So the theme is to fill up on healthy foods, eat them first, vegetables, your fruits, your meats that aren't covered in sauces. And then, on your second trip, you'll be not as hungry, and then you can take the other foods that you enjoy. And when you're eating out, really only plan to eat half of what they give you, half of what you're served, because as we went through the slide presentation, I think we can all agree that most portions are going to be at least double of what they should be. And so my mom and dad are on the call, and I always share your strategy. My father orders his food and gets half of it and boxes it before he even eats his meal. I've seen him do, right? You've done that sometimes. You can actually determine when your plate comes, cut it in half, and you can even box up the other half right away. And then that way there's no temptation, and then you have a meal for the next day. So that's a good way to go about it. But, I like to give everyone a portion control challenge. When I work with my clients, I always give them this one challenge, and that is just see if you can leave one bite on your plate at each meal for the next week. So, no matter what, it's just one bite. You don't have to clean the plate. And by doing that, it's a bit of a psychological trick, but it's, mind over matter. You control your food. Your food doesn't control you. And you can make that, control. You can leave that extra bite, and then you don't have that feeling of that your food has, I use the word controlled your meal. So it's just a way to retrain the brain so that you can make really good choices and not be tricked by the portion sizes, if that makes sense. I mentioned water before too, because that's just one thing that you can't talk enough about. We need to drink more water. And I know, like in the summer months and when I do a lot of exercise, I drink a lot more water. But all year round, water serves a lot of purposes. Besides, it's really good for your body. It's good for your skin. Ever notice in the winter your skin gets dry, and part of that is because probably not drinking enough water. This is the point where everybody always picks up their cup and starts to drink. But drinking a good amount of water can also really help you with your appetite control. The signal that I mentioned about the fullness signal. So when you eat, and it takes 20 minutes for the food to signal to the brain that you're full, but the same signal of when you're thirsty to the brain is very similar to the signal that you're hungry. So a lot of times when you feel hungry, you may actually be thirsty, and you don't even realize it because you just have that same sensation. So the next time you're feeling hungry and it's not meal time and it's between meals, before I do anything, I take a nice big drink of water. I keep my cup with me all the time. I always have it on me. And it's interesting because you may feel like I'm not so hungry anymore. And it's because you had the water. And you don't have to, you can drink small amounts throughout the whole day. They say the 8 times 8 rule, I think, is still what we're going with for water. 8 ounces, 8 times a day. But, you can spread that out and just have sips throughout the whole day so that it's good for your skin, it's good for your cells, and it's also good for your nutrition and for your appetite. So that's kind of my Penny's health tips, kind of really quickly. But let's all talk and see if anybody has any extra tips that they want to add or any questions about these tips.
Penny, first of all, thank you so much for a fabulous presentation. I have a question for you about specific kinds of foods. Are there particular foods that you recommend that are more satisfying to one's hunger than others?
Yeah, and that's a great question. And you're welcome to. And this is not rocket science, so I hope everybody realizes this stuff is like really simple, really basic, and most of it you've probably already heard your whole life, and a lot of it's just reminders and reinforcement. But it's really good to have mixed, like combined foods. And this talk was 30 minutes. When I get into more in-depth discussions, we talk a lot about nutrition. There's protein, there's carbohydrate, there's fat. All foods are made of protein, carbohydrate, and fat. Mixing those, like foods that have protein in them, are going to make you feel more full than just a carbohydrate food. So like looking for a snack, I would always advise people to look for something that's got all three, or at least has protein in it. So like cheese sticks, is a protein containing snack. If you were going to have some fruit, maybe you want to also have some yogurt, and like Greek yogurt has a lot of protein in it, and it's very satisfying. And that's an example of a food that has protein, carbohydrate, and fat. Even like a small sandwich or half of a sandwich where you have bread, you have protein, your meat or your peanut butter. So that's going to make you feel more satisfied. The other thing is, don't be fooled by like non-fat, even like low-fat, non-fat, because a lot of times when you go for the non-fat food, like let's say ice cream, they make non-fat ice cream, but they're adding more sugar to make up for it. The calories a lot of times end up being the same, and then you don't have that feeling of fullness. So you're better off eating a smaller amount. Like I like to put a little cream in my coffee in the morning. I've tried the non-fat or skim milk, and I have to use like this much to get it to work. But if I use real cream, I'm just using that much. So, and it's more filling and it's more satisfying.
Penny, I was going to say, one of the things I've noticed is that sometimes, particularly at night, you may feel hungry, but really what you should be doing is going to sleep, because food gives you quick energy. So you tend to crave carbs and things like that when you're tired. And so I know what I've said to many of my patients, particularly later in the evening, is, as much as we want those pretzels or those chips late in the evening, chances are what we really should do is leave the kitchen and go to sleep.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I'll give you and again, this talk, it was hard for me to really, 30 minutes, because I do a program. I've actually developed a weight loss program from my gym, and I meet with my clients for 1 hour a week for 4 weeks, and then in between. But my very first session, Penny's top 10 tips, number 1 is shut it down at nighttime. So I'm going to share it with all you guys. It's the oral hygiene method. So this is what I tell the people to do. Once you've had your dinner, and you've had a good dinner and you're satisfied, you really don't need to eat anymore. If you've eaten throughout the day, if you've had your breakfast, your lunch, and your snacks throughout the day, you need to shut it down after dinner. The reason people eat at night is usually not because they're hungry. It's usually because they're maybe stressed, maybe they're bored, maybe it's habit, maybe it's just pleasure. It could just be the location. The kitchen is near the family room, which is where the TV is, and there's a lot of reasons people eat at night. Usually it's not hunger. So I have people, take this method. It's like 5 to 10 minutes. Go to your bathroom, brush your teeth really well, floss. You got to floss, and you should spend several minutes flossing. Then you want to rinse, like Listerine, and you want to swish it in your mouth for about a minute. Your dentist will love you. Do I have any dentists on the call today? I don't think so. The dentist will love you, but you'll use your, Listerine, flossing, brushing. The whole process takes a good 5 minutes, if not more. There's a couple of reasons why we do that. First of all, that's a lot of work. You don't want to go and then take a snack and then have to do that all over again. Plus, the food doesn't taste as good after you brush your teeth and floss. Ruth, you can tell me if you agree with this, but you know, it's like you want to retrain the brain, and there's a signal. What's the last thing you do before you go to bed? You brush your teeth and you go to bed. Your brain, you're used to that. Every night you brush your teeth, you go to bed. So if you do that after your dinner, that will help you retrain your brain. You've got that signal now. Eating is done. Eating is done for the day. It's done for the night. And, you know, when I work with my groups, a lot of times, well, I have people do food logs, and we do food diaries, and I have them keep them for, you know, about a week or so before we meet. And on average, most people are eating about an extra 300 to 500 calories at night, snacking. And if you can eliminate that times 7 days a week, that's a pound of fat. 3,500 calories is a pound of real weight. So if you eat 3,500 calories more than you need, you're going to gain a pound. And if you reduce by 3,500 calories, you're going to lose a pound. So that's where I've helped a lot of people find their success in their weight loss journey, by reducing that nighttime snack, eliminating it completely. And, you know, this oral hygiene method can really help with that process. So thank you, Ruth. That's like one of my favorite tricks and tips.
You saying 3,500 calories to lose 1 pound?
Yep. But not in one day. So the people who lose like 5 pounds in a week, you know, that's not real weight loss. You can't possibly lose that much, but you can reduce your intake. The goal for most people, I would say, it's usually 300, you know, maybe 500 a day. And that's a reduction from what you normally eat. So you have to find that one thing. I had one client who ate a double bowl of ice cream every single night. It was just for his whole life. He always did that, but he was trying to lose 35 pounds. And so we retrained his brain. He stopped eating the ice cream at night. He substituted with 2 Halo oranges right after dinner. So he had that sweet sensation. Then he went and he brushed his teeth. And sure enough, you know, he started losing a pound a week just from that one change. He didn't do anything else. So it's like a little bit of, you know, if you are trying to shed some unwanted pounds, you know, it's a good idea to do your own investigation. Write down everything you're eating. I love the MyFitnessPal. It's an app. You can get it on your phone, and you can record in live time everything you're eating. And then you can see at the end of the day, you know, where maybe you can make some small changes. When I work with people, they make very small changes. We don't make big life-changing changes, just one little baby steps. You know, and for some people, it's just the portion size. That's why I started with that topic, because for a lot of people, just cutting down the portions, you know, people like ask me, well, how big portion size do you eat? How much did you eat? I say, I generally eat half as much as I want to. So.
The odd thing with me is I cycle a lot. On the days that I cycle, I don't eat as much because I'm on the road. So I'm burning calories and I'm eating whatever, gel packs, whatever. And then I cycle anywhere from 50 to 120 miles a day. And the days I don't cycle, I'm eating like crazy and it drives me nuts. Is that normal?
Yeah, I think that in my own experience, so I've run like long races and I'm not even that hungry after the race. And then the next day, and it's probably just because, you know, you have that deficit. Hopefully you're really well hydrated, because that, you know.
I'm not.
That could be.
I'm hydrated enough while I'm biking.
Yeah, that can contribute to your hunger. And then you're making, you know, I think the next day you're making up for the hydration factor, and you're also making up for the deficit. And I think that's just, I don't know what exactly the science is behind it, but I know in my own experience, I could go out and run a half a marathon, not even hungry afterwards. The next day is when the hunger kicks in, probably because you have that deficit in calories and hydration.
Good point. Thank you.
You're welcome. Well, this has been really nice. I know it was hard for me to pull a small amount of information together when there's so much information to be had. But I thought this was a good way for us to kind of whet our appetite, no pun intended, and kind of open up a little bit of a healthy nutrition discussion. So hopefully that accomplished the goal.
Very good.
Thank you, Penny.
Thank you.
What was that?
Where are you located?
Oh, well, I'm only consulting with clients from my gym where I normally would work, but I do see people out of my home. I'm in New Jersey Athletic Club, but I do see, private clients. So you feel free to give me a buzz. I have a program. I developed it myself. I mentioned it before. It's that we use at our gym, but it's my program and it's called 30-Day Boost. So it's 30 days. We meet 1 hour a week, usually with a group, and we have a different lesson each time, and it's usually a lot more involved than what we just did tonight. And then we stay in touch throughout the week, and I give them assignments. The people, make their little tiny changes, and then we regroup and we meet once a week for 4 weeks. And at the end, everybody's, for the most part, most people looking to lose weight lose about 5 pounds. And then they keep it going because they're really simple strategies.
Mm-hmm.
We could probably get something going through Bethel if there's enough people interested.
That'd be great. My issue is I'm diabetic on insulin, and while my sugar is pretty controlled, my weight goes up when my sugar is controlled, and it goes down when my sugar is not controlled. Yeah. So there's not so much incentive to like either keep my sugar in control or lose weight. So it's really hard to do both.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you're able to work with that.
Yeah, I mean, we could. I don't know how much you've been taught, like about glycemic index and helping to choose the right foods. And, we could meet about that.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Well, I thank everybody for coming out, and I hope this wasn't too oversimplified for you guys.
Great job, Penny.
This is really helpful. Thank you so much